That's the defensive coach knows that. Good luck. Yeah.
All right, we're running a little bit behind, so we will go right to Dwight Becker for our discussion and review city-owned land. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So there has been some discussion about city-owned property, what do we own, what's it gonna be used for, and so, we put some effort into sort of mapping out, city property and categorizing it, for your benefit. This is kind of a high-level view, of what, the city has and what purposes it serves. And if we have more specific things we want to dig into after today, we can do that. But I just wanted to sort of give a sort of larger overview of our properties, and what the intentions are. So we broke them into categories here. Administration, that's gonna be like your West Hills, law enforcement center, fire hall, and library. So the core main functions of the city, ones that are very recognizable by the community as city facilities. Park and rec, this is gonna be, the bulk of our land is gonna be parks and trails, the water parks in there, and all of our ball fields. So again, city service, we serve in different capacities, some are undeveloped. Much of it has been donated to the city over the years, a lot of it is along the river. We've acquired some of that along the river due to floodplain mitigation efforts. And so you'll see when I pull up the map here, how much of that is really along our rivers. Public Works, that's our city shop. It also includes our sludge facility out in the industrial park, and then some different right-of-way properties that we've acquired for different projects for right-of-way that were not necessarily dedicated as right-of-way. And then stormwater ponds, and we're getting more and more of land used for storm ponds. Typically, our storm ponds would need to service a larger area for it to be a city-owned pond. Smaller ones that serve just a particular subdivision are typically owned by the development and maintained by the development. Of course, then we have the airport, which is not just the airport facility, but it includes clear space on the ends of the runway where we farm out a lot of that to collect some revenue. That's all needed to meet all the FAA standards. Most all of that has been acquired through grants, FAA grants, and have stipulations that it must be kept to the airport. And then Brooktree, again, a large portion for the golf course, and maintaining their golf course. The categories, those are sort of the main functions of the city and the categories of the property. A couple other ones that, tend to highlight a little bit more is our EDA and HRA properties. So these are properties that are used to meet city initiatives, either redevelop, bring new business to town, bring housing to town, and increase our tax base. So there are different projects that we have worked on over the years. We've got about a dozen different properties out there that we are pursuing. Some of them we inherited from certain situations, others we acquired, looking to redevelop. Some are existing buildings that we maintain downtown, and looking to get businesses in there. All these properties, EDA and HRA have, are to bring business or bring housing to town and build that tax base. So, not a core function, but one that every city does to help make improvements to the community, address some needs, and help grow the tax base within the community. And so, in the last category, in this Utilities and all the property owned by municipal utility. Public utilities is, owned by the city of Owatonna, so, everything down, where the old plant was, all their water tower locations, substations, are all, under the city of Owatonna because the public utilities is, under the umbrella of the city of Owatonna. So we'll switch over to the map here. And so that's just sort of an overview. I'll hold that there for a little bit so you can take a look at it. We color coordinated down to, kind of show you what the uses are. The lighter green is gonna be your parks, the blue is your administration, purposes. Pink is public works. We did create a category yellow for downtown parking. Orange is your storm ponds throughout the community. And then there's a red, you can see more in the industrial park of where EDA has land. And then the lighter red, which we'll focus in a little bit more here, is the HRA here, so. That kind of gives you a snapshot community-wide of kind of what the city owns.
Hey, Troy, one good question. The Rocket Park, is that owned by the county? Oh, well, we call it the Rocket Park. That's where I got my scar. Across from Casey's at the, right next to the History Center?
So that is owned by the county.
Okay, I didn't see it's not green.
Yeah, so there are a few situations where the city leases land from a different entity, on a particular arrangement, that's one of them. That's owned by the county, and we, maintain those ball fields in that park.
That's all in one with the softball and everything?
Yes, that's all together. We have a few other lease situations out there, not much, for arrangements like that, so. Administration, you know, we got West Hills here, that's the campus, broken up into many different properties there. You know, we'll have that for the long haul. Here's the school administration building that we recently acquired as part of, the efforts there on the safety center, the fire hall location, the library location, and the law enforcement center. The Forest Hill Cemetery does have an underlying ownership of the city, although it's maintained by Forest Hills board. That underlying ownership is the city of Owatonna. And then we do have, you know, this location out here off of 26th Street and Kenyon Road there. We were looking for a substation location into the future, so we're still hanging on to that, for the future fire station, substation location. That can easily change, but at the time, we were looking for a site, that was gonna be served in an area that could not be served by the current fire hall.
Troy, on that site, if it's deemed in the future that that's not necessarily where an auxiliary fire station could be, is there any legal reason why it couldn't become a park or go back for sale or anything?
It could be,
Okay, thank
we
you.
could sell it for development.
Okay, thank you.
We secured it just to have it as things were developing. The airport in the pink, you know, a lot of that that's actually farm. So when you get on the east side of the interstate over here, that's all clear zone area we have to have for a runway, that's all farm, so that won't be developed. With the rest of that, is all our airports, property, so quite a bit there.
So Troy, on the approach on the east side of the interstate, that could not be, an office complex, one story, nothing at all?
We got
Okay,
a clear zone. and
okay,
It's not, you don't want your land along the interstate to not be developed. It's high prime commercial land, but, because of the location of, we could move the airport, I guess. But, because of the location, maybe that's the downside of having that,
could it be a car lot?
no.
Okay,
Yep, it's pretty, it's the, approach clear zone, so it's pretty strict on what you can do.
okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Troy, are we planning on extending any of the runways?
Yes, so we are going through the process, we have in our, long-term 10-year strategic plan, to extend the runway. It will extend to the northwest here. There's a long process you have to go to do that. And the first part is updating your zoning ordinance, so we'll be doing that here towards, the end of the year here, kind of in conjunction with the zoning stuff we're doing here, once that's done. You gotta, get the clear zones, for that extension, and, all the zoning requirements that go along with that. So, once that's in place, I mean, that's the first step that it says. You also have to have justification for the extension too, so we're documenting all the larger jets, that come in and out of there, which really, should have a longer runway to do that. So when you document hit a certain level, that's the justification, to apply for grant funding, the FAA to do that extension. So again, it'll be a long process, but we're beginning that process, now, and the justification has to be there in order to get that money to do it, so.
That, do we have to acquire any additional land?
There will be a little bit more, additional land that we would need, up in this area up here, kind of to square this off a little bit more. But much of it is already in place.
Okay. And the airport commission is looking at doing all the work that's required, and
Yeah, I mean, we have a
Super.
consultant and, an airport board that are really working on that. Let's see, Brooktree. You know, that's kind of what it is. It's an 18-hole golf course. It's fully developed all the way around it. You know, we did acquire this property right here, a few years ago, knowing that, the parking was pretty tight, in here. We also have our, cart storage right here, which, is not ideal. You would normally have that, you know, on the course somewhere, plus it's, in the floodplain there. So we've got some extra room here to potentially down the road do some cart storage and then some additional parking. So, there's probably no other opportunities really to expand. You know, well, the other thing we are missing is a driving range. Not a lot of room to do that. And maybe we can improvise, something for that down the road, but, acquiring land to do that would be pretty tough to get, that kind of that wide open space to do that. So that's probably the one thing we are missing at the golf course. Not sure I have to have one, but.
Sorry, got a question here from Dan.
That property you just pointed out that we acquired across the street from the clubhouse, we own that property now, just to the east of that, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And that property went on both sides of Maple Creek.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And how about,
I'll tell you, when we were acquiring industrial land, when we started buying that so that we could do industrial development, it was a good time to do it, because we were paying like $5,000 an acre, to get it, so we were able to accumulate a lot. A lot of that started with, what we got from the state, from the West Hills, property. We've expanded by purchasing some land, and that's what started the whole industrial part. We were buying it for like $5,000 an acre. Over time, I think the most we paid was maybe $12,000 or $13,000 an acre. So industrial land right now is going for, well over that. And to the point where I don't know that we need to do that anymore, because private property owners see the prices, and, you know, a lot of them are willing to sell their own. We did that to get it started, and we sort of accomplished what we wanted to by buying land, you know, holding it for the long period of time, getting some development happen to where the market right now is sort of taking care of itself. We still have a good amount of industrial land. I don't foresee any need for us to buy any industrial land anymore. If we don't have something that a potential business needs, then we just talk to the private property owners and try to work out a deal where they would sell to the developer. We don't necessarily have to be the owner in that anymore.
Do we still have money left to purchase that last home along Lamont Road there when the time would come?
Well, that's a good question. Let me switch to, I'm gonna jump down on the part right here. So here, this goes back to your question, you know, so yes, this is the one that I was talking about, we bought, we own this property right here, we own everything across the street here. So some of those were, purchased here in the last few years, for floodplain reasons, as well as, maintaining that park. So we have accumulated, some parkland through flood mitigation efforts, and, we've gotten grant money to do that, and it comes with the designation that it needs to stay as green space. So a lot of our parkland is along the rivers here. Maple Creek, you know, a good chunk in there, the Straight River up along there, you know, all of this along here. We bought these along Lamont Road. There's one house still left here. And so how that's worked in the past, is, you know, we have flood mitigation, has been a priority of the council since we've had the flooding that started probably in 2005 or so, 2007 timeframe. We've been purchasing, some properties in the floodplain. It's a situation where we have to have a willing seller, and we've always taken the stance that we have to have grant money to do it. So we've been able to get DNR grant money to purchase, some of these homes. So it's been, kind of steady over the years. Somebody will call and say, hey, I've got, you know, and I've talked to all those property owners in the floodplain to say, if you're ever interested, let us know. When they get to that point, they'll give us a call. Either we'll see if we have a current grant, or if we can get a grant, see if we can work out a deal. Some properties will show up for sale, that will be in the floodplain. And again, if it works out, we can get a grant, or we have a current grant, we'll pursue those. There's been properties bought and sold in the floodplain that we've not acted on because we didn't have grant money to do it. So we did 2 of them last year. One of those on Lamont Road. We did one on what was the other one? Oh yeah, Maple Drive, right on the corner there. And we're talking with the property owner on North Oak right now that's wanting to sell, and we're pursuing a grant to see if we can get a grant for that too. So we do prioritize them. So just because, well, house is in the floodplain and you're willing to sell, doesn't necessarily mean we're interested in it at this point in time. So the one on North Oak is 2. We had another one on Lamont Road that we bought last year, that was priority number 3, so we got number 3 out of there. The one we're talking to on North Oak, is probably priority number 3 right now. So the ones that are sitting the lowest and are gonna get flooded first are gonna be our highest priority. The ones on Maple Drive in that area were ones that got flooded in the basement multiple times, so those were the highest priority in that area. So there are ones that pop up for sale on Maple Drive, there's been a few of them that have been for sale, they'll call me up and say, hey, I know you bought some houses on Maple Drive, you're interested here, and I'm like, well, that's not our top priority, and so, you know, no, we won't take that one. But, if we can get a grant and it's in, you know, the top 5 houses that we need, we'll pursue it.
Thank you.
Troy, I just wanna help you with your time management, you got 10 minutes left.
Okay, we will jump down to, so here's downtown parking. So these are all ones that we own for downtown parking. We've had, on this north one here on the corner, we've had a for sale sign on it, we had some, ideas of, you know, getting a building built on there. I don't think that's gonna be a possibility. I need to talk to the neighboring property owner to see if they're interested in purchasing, if there's some interest there, so we'll see if something can be worked out on there. You know, the rest of these have been ones that we've done a lot of improvements on, there's a few that, probably need some improvements on. And for the most part, they're all used pretty regularly. So that sort of gives you a snapshot.
Troy, on the Vine Street parking lot, is there any reason why they are still individually marked out?
That's just, the way that the county has them.
Okay.
Yeah, they could all be combined into one parcel, because they're all in the same class, so we'll jump to, here's the stormwater. So here's our storm ponds. And there, we have chunks of land, all over town that have storm ponds on them. And these are ones that serve, areas and not just individual subdivisions. So I foresee those, the number of those that we own in the future to go up. As it makes more sense to have larger regional ponds, rather than a bunch of really small ones, all over. So whenever we can, plan for and get cooperation, from property owners and development to do more centralized ponds, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Troy, the pond by the Ascend project, is that owned by Ascend or is that a city?
Nope, that one is a small one, so that is a sentence pond.
That's Ascend's pond.
It serves their development.
Okay, thank you.
Troy, what kind of rotation are we on as far as cleaning those ponds? We try and do at each one every 3 or 4 years? Sorry.
Everyone's different, so it all depends on what the tributary area is, what it's made up of. Ones that collect a lot of parking areas, impervious areas, they're gonna need to be cleaned more frequently if they weren't really sized appropriately. But on average, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 years.
And then, you know, so I'll say EDA and HRA, have worked, together on, some redevelopment areas, so you'll see some properties owned by the EDA, some owned by the HRA, kind of in the same area. But here's, EDA does the bulk of the redevelopment. And you can see out in the industrial park, you know, the land that we have. So we still got a good amount of land here. Here's the business development center. So we used to have a lot of land up in this area here, that's all been developed now. We've got one small lot over here still. So a lot of it's moved into this area where we bought some land probably 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago in this area. And like I said, a lot of this, are these undeveloped properties out here are all property owners that know it's gonna be developed industrially, and they know whoever is interested in them will pay, you know, a fair price for that, so that there's no need really for us to be, that middle way anymore. We still have, off Gilbert Drive, we still have our lots which we use kind of the snow storage. We do have a telecommunications tower there, which we're collecting rent off of. It was a good location, to meet the needs, so that worked out well. Here's our Simstone site. This is the one that the city council approved, just the last council meeting, so we have not closed on that yet, which is why it's not on here, but, you know, these are the sort of things, you know, where you take a heavy industrial use in a commercial area. I mean, we got complaints about, from that neighborhood of dust. They used to crush, glass there, you hear the thumping of the, crushing happening, dust would kick up. I remember there was a neighbor that would bring little pieces of glass from the yard and saying, hey, what's happening here? We had a lot of truck traffic in there. I think we had, one fatality and a pedestrian there. So, a great business in the wrong spots. And so, that was one where we pursued, when they were interested in doing some improvements there, we talked to them about, hey, you really need to be out in the industrial park, and we worked out a deal. We did a land swap. They weren't ready to build a new facility, so they leased this, for 5 years while they did that out there. Now, they moved out there, they've expanded some more out there, so it's exactly what we want to see. Business is growing in the right spot, but now we have this spot we have to redevelop. So we'll be pursuing a redevelopment project there. So those are the sort of scenarios where we get some community benefit from it, are the sort of the projects that the EDA, likes to pursue. So, the downtown buildings, you know, everyone knows about those. Those are, again, are situations where the buildings are collapsing. We get complaints, concern from the neighboring properties, like, hey, if this thing collapses in, what's gonna happen to our buildings? What's gonna happen to the whole downtown if we've got collapsed buildings? So, those are the scenarios where we step in, we acquire them, we put a new roof on it, and pursue getting, a business in there. And again, the goal is to get a business in there. The goal is not just to sell it, because if we sell it to somebody and they don't do anything with it, we're still gonna get calls that say, hey, they're not doing anything with this building, hey, it's still sitting empty, hey, we've got problems happening over here, so that doesn't solve the problem. The end goal is to get a business in these buildings, and so we've done some improvements. We're gonna do some more improvements here to help, entice, businesses to go in there, and bring more visibility to them, so that'll happen here this summer. We've got some other areas, on Fremont, Rose, and Pearl, where we've purchased, some properties, some, older these are all areas that are transitioning from the old residential, to commercial, and so you don't get a lot of investment from the property owners, because they know there's gonna be a commercial demand here, so a lot of times we'll speed up that process, by acquiring them. We'll rent them for a while, collect some rent, and when it gets to a point where putting more money into the renting doesn't make sense to demo them. So we're like one on Fremont, we'll probably demo, this year after renting it for 5 or 6 years. We bought some, again, some really dilapidated, buildings on, Pearl there that we've demolished. And so, over time, you know, as we want the whole city to grow, we want our downtown to grow as well. So these are just the beginning steps to help that process happen. And then, of course, we've got, Here's some remnants of a previous fairway project. We've got a sign out there, we actually have a developer coming in, next week, I believe, to take a look at, that. So that we'd like to see as a housing project. And then we've got, our Markville building, and this is where we wanna bring Barney through here. We still need to, secure a little bit more property from these two property owners to be able to do that. I'm talking with, both of them right now. And if we get that straight through, then we have a vacant property, that would be, available. So, some cases we wanted to do some street improvements like this, and actually across the street, we did the same thing. It was the old Hardee's building and the old, Budget Mart. Those were really bad shape. We got those redeveloped into a nice strip mall when we were able to turn that building. So these are all long-term, plans. They take a long time. And so you gotta stick with them in order to see them to fruition. Nothing happens overnight. So these are kind of some of the ongoing, projects. And I'll very quickly just switch it to the HRA. So this is a lot that was gifted to us, from the Cashman family, so, I'm talking to, a potential developer of that. We got our the Eastgate project, we're working on the Eastgate 2 project, right there off of Cherry. We've got, like I said, EDA and HRA has worked together on some of these properties downtown, so some of these are under the ownership of the HRA, but we'll work together on getting a project there. We do own the 2 houses on Elm, which has been included in our designs for the new fire hall on Elm Street. Those were, HRA purchased. We do have the one house over here on Main, on the corner of Main and Lincoln, which I know we've had some discussion. It was, this intersection is really wonky, and so there's been some discussion about a roundabout, so at the time we bought it just to secure, space to be able to do that, so we've been renting it out since. This is probably one that we probably need to get some definition on what's gonna happen here and whether we need that or not. That could be a, one that we don't necessarily need a house for, we just maybe need the land out in front. And then out here, this is our Partridge property. So this is where the storm pond sits, we've got these lots here, that we're talking about getting developed. So that was, one of the properties they purchased. So, that's a very high level, look at kind of what we have, you know, and the reasons, or the purpose for it. A lot of them are just core functions, that we need. Some of them are nice amenity things, the parks, and, you know, everyone, when they move here, like, one of the things I hear about most is because they love our parks. So it is an attraction, certainly everybody that lives in town, uses them quite a bit. And it seems really to, get, people, as one of the attractions of being here. Is there any questions?
Our goal was to give you a high level, and if there's an area they wanted us to drill down, the work that Troy and his team put together with this map, we need to come back and have a conversation. So,
Great information, appreciate it very much. It is 6:50. Any board updates, board commission updates? Nothing, I know that a lot of us attended the League of Minnesota Cities Conference in Rochester a couple of weeks ago. I thought the breakout sessions were very, very good, very informative. The
always does a really good job with that. And with that being said, we've got the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Conference coming up. I can't say next month anymore, it's July. So that's coming up at the end of this month in New Ulm. And once again, we'll have council members and staff going to that as well. So nothing else, we'll take a break until the council meeting at 7 o'clock. Thank you all.
Hands it around you.
He was asking. What? To catch your attention.
This guy?
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Mike? Yes. Good to see you tonight. Absolutely.
I think it's planning commission. Greg will want it. I mean, if no one wants it, I think I can go hang it on my wall, right?
Put it in your garage.
I need more to decorate those walls.
It's interesting. I once at a school board meeting leaned against a table and it rolled right out front. I was that close to falling flat on my back. I didn't realize there were rocks on it, which makes sense now, but